Hey everybody, Josh here. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about IT, cybersecurity, education, and career things. And today we're going to be answering the question if it's possible to work in cybersecurity with only having an associate's degree. If you're interested in working in IT, cybersecurity, or tech in any capacity, whether or not you have a degree, this video is definitely going to be useful for you. So keep on watching. I'm going to talk about the actual reality of things when it comes to getting a job in tech. I actually made this video in response to a viewer's question. Laced Nyquil asks, do you think it's possible to get a job in IT or security with an associate's degree and still have plenty of job opportunities? Also, would you recommend to transfer to WGU and aim for my bachelor's? So just to answer immediately, it's absolutely possible to work in cybersecurity or any tech job really with just an associate's degree. It's possible to work with no degree at all. And the reason for this is our industry, like IT, cybersecurity, and tech in general, is for the most part unregulated. And there aren't really any rules that govern like who you can and can't hire. Like there aren't any credential requirements like there are for a doctor. Maybe you have to go to med school and like do residency and all of this stuff. And even for an electrician, right, you have to do an apprenticeship and you have to get licensed or something like this. For IT and tech, none of that really exists. So in order to get a job in IT or cybersecurity or whatever the case may be, pretty much boils down to two things. The first thing being you need to have some kind of core skill set. Like you need to have some kind of technical skill and the ability to at least partially do your job and learn, which is the easy part. Like everyone can do this because you can just go on the internet and watch tutorials and get some kind of core skill set. And then the second part, which is a little bit harder, is being able to actually convey that core skill set to potential employers. A lot of people don't really understand how to convey their skills, especially in tech, and you do it through a lot of different ways. For example, your written communication, verbal communication, your resume is a way to convey your skill set. Your interview ability is a way to convey your skill set. Having a portfolio is a way to convey your skill set. These are all kind of ways that to convince employers to hire you, like convince them that you're able to do the job. And this thing you're looking at here, I tend to talk about this a lot, but it really helps me to explain my point. You can kind of think about these as your 12 stats as if you were in a video game instead of like strength, agility, like dexterity or whatever you have, experience, your social network, written communication, your resume quality, and this kind of thing. So these are kind of like your 12 stats that you need to think about and worry about when it comes to breaking into tech or kind of getting promoted or moving up or whatever the case may be. There's another video where I do like a super deep dive and I explain all of these in super depth. So watch this video if you want. I really talk about them and explain them more than I'm going to do in this video. This chart is also from an IT course I created with Course Careers. Essentially, it helps you break into IT really, really quickly. And the same methodology I talk about in this course can kind of be applied to cybersecurity as well. So this might be pretty useful to watch. So just check out this video if you want to kind of get a deeper dive on this. But say that you just went to a community college for cybersecurity and then you graduated with an associate's degree, for example. You're probably going to come out at least with stats looking like this at the very minimum. You're probably going to have quote unquote B tier written communication, because if you didn't, you probably wouldn't be able to turn in your papers and pass. You might have like a C tier social network coming out of a community college, like some people, maybe they have some like employment finding help services or something. You'll probably come out with, quote unquote B tier technical ability, depending on like how much you practice. And the way I defined education, you'll probably come out with like C tier education, because that's like essentially an associate's degree versus a bachelor's or master's or something. So if you kind of think about this and then think about what OP was saying, like, oh, can I get a job with my associate's degree or should I go ahead and get my bachelor's degree? If I was like, yeah, go ahead and get your bachelor's degree from WGU. So assuming they went to WGU and then they got their bachelor's degree, their stats would end up looking something like this. So they'd have a B tier education, bachelor's degree instead of just an associate's. And then their certifications, to be honest, it would be S tier certification because there's so many nice certs in that program. So they'd have S tier certification. They might have slightly higher written communication by that time because maybe it's more strenuous and they get more practice writing or something like this. So they might have like A tier communication capability or something like this. But still there's all these other areas that you need to care about in order to like really increase your chances of getting a job and like breaking into cybersecurity. I would also watch this video, by the way, just like it's worth watching if you're serious about getting into cybersecurity. But anyway, there's other stuff you have to worry about, like, your consistency when it comes to job hunting. Like you just apply to like one job per week or randomly like couple per week or something, or do you get serious about it and do like 5 per day, 5 per day, 5 per day? So this really depends. You need to be consistent. Job application execution, do you keep track of the jobs you're applying for? Do you use like an application job tracking template? Do you customize your resume for each job that you apply to? This is something that you need to care about. Maybe do 5 per day, for example, would be S tier, and use tailored resumes for each one and just keep track of everything. Self-presentation, right? It's something you have to care about. At least have clean clothes, like a collared shirt in your Zoom interview or something. And by the way, this course I made here, it does like a deep dive on all of these pillars and like kind of holds your hand on how to raise all of them up. But I won't go through all of these because it will make the video like kind of long, but definitely check out this video. I do like an in-depth explanation of all of these, but this chart, when you look at it this way, it becomes like really obvious that, of course you can work in cybersecurity or any aspect of tech if you don't have a degree. It doesn't really matter. Like imagine somebody, right, who has totally S tier everything, S tier portfolio, they have, S tier experience somehow. Just for example, this made up person, right? S tier technical ability, but we'll say they don't have any certs and they don't have any degree. Like look at this super rock star person. It's obvious they can pretty much do whatever they want to do. The only thing I can see them being limited by is maybe there's some like, silly government job that requires you to have a degree or something like this. Like this person is super capable, right? So it's just a really good way to think about things when you're thinking about getting into tech or something like this. Like for sure, yeah, a degree is really important, but the opportunity cost to getting a degree is kind of high, right? You can't just like go out and like, I have my degree like next week, but it is like easier to raise these other stats, if that makes sense. And I kind of ordered these in order of most easy to most difficult from left to right, top to bottom. And education, quote unquote education, in terms of like having a degree, that's like the hardest thing to raise because it tends to take forever, right? So having a degree, it's absolutely good, and I would recommend it. To answer the second part of your question, I would recommend getting one eventually, but generally speaking, because you can get into at least IT relatively quickly, right? I tend to recommend people to just break into IT first, maybe whatever the case may be, help desk or cloud support engineering or something. And then when you start getting experience, then you can kind of take your time and start taking classes at like study.com for cheap credit for WGU. And when you've taken all the study.com transfers, like, transfer them into WGU and then start, like, maybe you can enroll at that point, then start kind of slowly, getting your degree done while you're working or something. I know people like to focus on one thing over the other, and you can absolutely do that, but the opportunity cost of getting your degree first is so high, right? Because maybe after it takes you like 2 years or something where you could have been working that whole time and, getting money and saving at the same time. It just, in my opinion, it's just better to work first and then kind of get your degree if you have the time to do it, like if you can make the time to do it, of course. I'll go ahead and put a link in the description for the free intro course on how to break into IT in as little as 3 months. Consider following me on Instagram. I post there pretty much every day, multiple times per day, and I'm outside of the US doing cool things, so it might be interesting to you. But yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.